Any country that has a horrific human rights record, doesn't matter if they're a communist country or a socialist country or a capitalist country, do we have access to their natural resources? Yes, they're cool. Are they a radical Islamic government like the Taliban, except organized and with oil? Oh, they are? Do they say yes to us? Fine. Saudi Arabia, you have permission to exist now.
Right.
All the rest of them. Do you say yes to us? Because if we're talking about the doctrine and the theology, you see how the right wing is very, very quiet about what their purpose is in terms of trying to bring up religious fervor. You keep that shit on the low around our allies that believe that.
Right.
And you play your position real well, which leads me to believe that you really don't believe in that. And it exposes what you think of religion and of other people's religion as a fraud, because you're willing to put that aside for politics. And some people say, well, that's absurd technique. Well, that's the nature of politics. To compromise God? I thought nothing stood above that. But you're so willing to do it when there's a paycheck involved, but not when you're willing to do it.
Right.
You know, and I think that is the tell-all. And people, you know, do the same thing in other countries, you know, but it exposes their hypocrisy.
What who first approached you about doing your documentary?
Well, the documentary actually came about because we were just filming on the road. Me and a longtime friend of mine, Carrie Stewart, who essentially was just helping me tour, you know, was helping drive around. And, you know, I had known this brother for a long, long time. And he was like, yo, you know, we should take some videos of the shows. And what started out as just taking videos of the shows like 7 years ago eventually developed into a storyline. And eventually he had gathered so much different footage. And
so you guys
just
really
a
put
treasure
it together.
trove. Yeah, a treasure trove of stuff. And then spent the last couple of years editing it, which is, you know, a job within itself.
Right.
To take terabytes of footage and break it down into less than an hour. But, you know, after I got a whole bunch of people who had helped me and been an inspiration to me and worked with me on different projects to be involved, you know, like Cornel West or Woody Harrelson or KRS or Chuck D, they were all in the movie. We got these interviews with them, and the movie just kept coming together, and it became not just a character story and not a story of development about my path towards, you know, becoming a hip-hop artist and a revolutionary, but other people's path. You know, whether it was Russell Means and the Native American movement. I think that at some point we just sat back and we realized, what the hell are we going to do with this stuff? There's a story here to be told.
Right.
And so me and my brother Carrie just said, man, we got to make it for the people. And we talked about a title and went through many titles and went through many versions of the film. And we won a Spotlight Award at the Harlem Film Festival, so that was a blessing. And hopefully we'll be out with the documentary, which comes with a bunch of added bonuses on the DVD, like tons of extra footage. Because
you had to take so much and condense it so much, have you considered doing a book? Do you have a book in the works? Like, is there anything going on with that?
Yeah, people have always asked me about that. Are you going to write a book technique? And I said, yeah, sure, I think I will. You know, I've written lots of short stories. I'm writing the odd screenplay here and there, but I kind of keep these things all to myself. And when people ask me about them, like, oh, you got to let people show them. I'm like, dude, this is so different than what, you know, I rhyme about. And some of them aren't. Some of them are exactly what people would expect, only to another level of. Because I think when it's not just hip-hop, when you have a blank piece of paper and you write a story, you can include as much fantasy as you want to, and you can include as many absurd things or ramblings, or, you know, it's not a three-dimensional world you're working in. So
you've considered it, but it's just something that you're...
Yeah, it's in the works, probably.
Okay. What do you think about Obama's presidency?
I think he was selected just as much as he was elected. I think that he's there to do the job that he needs to do, and as long as he doesn't say no to the right people, he's going to continue to be there. I think, whether it is one criticism or another, he can never be enough for anybody.
Right.
You hear criticism from right-wing Israeli fanatics. Oh, he's abandoned Israel. He's never said no to them.
Right.
He told them we should go back to 1967. That's what their left wing was saying. What else is he supposed to do? Drop the bombs on Gaza himself? He said nothing about them.
Right.
You know what I mean? What did he do in terms of terrorism? Was he soft on terrorism? He killed Osama bin Laden. He killed all these, not himself, but he ordered the killing of them, supposedly. Right. You know what I mean? When it came to the Somali, blast them. I don't care. He's just showing the ruthless side of America. Mm-hmm. They needed a manager, somebody to really get it on. And people were tired of seeing a rich white guy in charge. They felt like it was colonialism again around the world. You people come here and you tell us how to live and all that, and then you have a man who has this inspiring speech to give and realizes you cannot rule the world by strength. You have to rule it by convincing people that they're the ones in charge of their own destiny. And if they don't do what we ask them to do, then they're going to veer off from that great destiny and that chance to share in the glory of American power. That's his job.
Yeah, and I saw a comic one time when he was first elected, and it had Obama with a broom in the Oval Office. Right. Actually, the janitor was handing Obama the broom, and they said, still cleaning up after the white man. Hmm. And I just thought it was kind of, because he got thrown into that situation. Like, as a matter of fact, when Dinkins came in,
but he wasn't.
After
Koch, he wasn't thrown into it.
But I mean,
he was brought into it. I mean, look, if the only thing they could dig up about him, and they go through people's lives like it's nothing, is that he may or may not have been an American citizen, which is absolutely absurd, and people are still discussing this. Right. I think at some point you have to just say, how much of this is just a real and honest conversation about in the scope of American politics, and how much of it is just nonsense. When
I meant thrown in, I meant just like he was placed in office, after Bush, and there was just such a big mess to deal with. So it's kind of like you said, they chose him to be in there, but at the same time, they'll always have that blame when they're ready to move him out. Right. He didn't clean up, everybody always forgets about what the first person did to bring that person into, so just an excuse. But one thing that I noticed, and I wanted to get your feeling on it, is like how the media, like to me, I see a lot of racial undertones. Sure. Like no one says, Fox will never say President Obama. They always call him Obama. All the time. Like every time you hear them talk Obama, they never say president. There's also a lot of other shows when they introduce him, they say Obama. Like and it's just like, to me, those are the little digs that people don't see. So my question for you was, with the media, how do you feel about their portrayal of him?
Each one of them, does things for the benefit of their own political faction,
Right.
Left-wingers do similar things too. I mean, you had a president in charge when they took over Guatemala. What did the new Guatemalan regime do? The military coup. They hired Hillary Clinton's PR firm or their investment firm or something like that. Of course, because they made a link to people that are in power. And they say, oh, we're looking for a diplomatic solution. Okay, imagine someone overthrew one of your allies and installed a government that you were not favorable of. We're either going to war or you're going to have a military dictatorship in perpetuity until we decide what's different. Same thing in Egypt. A war, almost a civil war between, a corrupt government and an entire country of people who want it. And now the United States has decided to put them in limbo. Say, no, you're going to have a military dictatorship. And that's a violation of the principles of the revolution that they were trying to somehow reach. Now, when it comes to Obama, whether it's him or anyone else, I think at some point people are going to either realize that this is a very talented, exceptionally intelligent man who's being used as a pawn but understands what his position is, or they're going to find a series of other reasons to despise him, to not like him. I can tell you things that are wrong with his presidency. I can tell you things that I don't like about what he's going to do, but the alternative, unfortunately, in this situation is going to be either Rick Santorum or Mitt Romney. neither one of them who I think is qualified to be president, who would probably do a terrible job. And, you know, I don't think I'm going to vote for Obama. But at the same time, you know, he, as being the president of the United States of America, the strongest power in the world, that's the job he has to do. If he doesn't say, this is how we're going to run it.
Right.